All right, Dog Talk Tuesdays. What's happening? We are back. What's up, y'all? We got Maurice Humboldt in the house. Said, let's go. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Derek Hatfield in the house. We got Bully Pitch Fusion. Rhodes Kennel, what's up, man? And said, we've been waiting for this. Yeah, bruh. I've been absent. That's my bad. Well, I think it's been about 2 weeks, but we back on now. I've had a lot going on. What's up, Casper? Thanks for joining in. And we got Donna. What's up? Everything's good with me. Hope you're doing good too, Donna. So let's get ready to go. And basically, what's been going on? I think most of you guys know we are going to be making a move to Arkansas. I'll still be able to work from home, but we'll be able to get some kennels set up and take this bully game a little further. And so I got some special plans for that because it's a lot of room for me to do a lot of the things that I used to do with my dogs when I was younger and make those activities a part of, the breeding process. And so I'm excited for that. What else? Last Friday, woke up, went into the Giant XL American Bully Breed group to approve some posts and was told by Facebook that the group was suspended. They asked me if I wanted to review it. I clicked review. It stated that the group was suspended due to it being reported multiple times for selling for people's, they call it agricultural sales. So we kind of have an idea of who was the culprit. We know that they were using multiple fake pages to report the group. It's just haters in the bully community, but that's okay. So I did put it up for review. Hopefully Facebook reviews it and we get it back. If they don't, we already started Giant XL American Bully Breed Group 2.0. So make sure you guys join that. And for those who were waist deep into the guide section of Giant XL American Bully Breed Group, the original group, it's gone. That whole library of information is gone. So we're in the process of rebuilding that. Unfortunately, you won't be able to start where you left off like you were before because you could click done and then you kind of knew where you had left off at. But we are rebuilding that. Also, some of you had been suggesting back then that we should add a question portion to each of the topics. So since we're redoing it, we're going to go ahead and redo that. Each of the topics will have a question format for you to answer the questions, and it'll tell you whether you got the questions correct or not. So we're in the process of rebuilding that. So bear with us as we do that. Other than that, yeah, make sure you join that group. Make sure you share it to your friends. It's Giant XL American Bully Breed Group 2.0. Notice how I accidentally said greed when it came to this breed. As far as today, what were the topics? Let's see. Eric Maxwell is in the house. What's up, man? Top notch bullies in the house from Canada. Tony Moss, what's up, man? Thanks for joining. That's right. It's morning for you. Let's see. Dark Hearts, what's up, man? Thanks for you caught one, man. I'm glad you caught it. Thanks for joining in. Rhodes is in the house. Let's see who else is in. Inzarata from, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. In from Phoenix. Thanks for joining in. Let's see. Jerry Jimenez is in the house with Blue Sultan Kennels. Yes. Who else? Somebody from Facebook is in, and again, it's not showing who the user is. So I apologize for that. Subscribe to the Thrower Bullies YouTube channel. Then I can see who you are. Other than that, I will still try to keep up with your questions as we go through everything. And let's see who else is in here. Pretty Eyed Pits. There we go. Is in the house. Townsend Bully Kennels is here. Beth B, what's up? Thanks for joining in. BMK said, how's it going from San Antonio, Texas? Shout out to San Antonio. Let's see. Somebody else from Facebook. It is not showing the Facebook names. Major League, salute back to you, man. So the topics of today, let me get over here, are what's most important to your program, the female or the male, and why? Uh, Tony Moss put up the inconsistency in leadership in this breed from registry to social media. He also put what are the reasons why XLs need their own class. And then Toria B said the lack of consistency throughout the breed as a whole and why certain classes should be recognized as their own breed. Okay, so we're going to get through all of each of those topics and we will go ahead and get started on them now. Heart and Soul Bullies, good to see you also. Who else is in here? So, when it comes to the lack of consistency, I believe when it comes to dog breeding, it is an art and a science. And I think the internet has messed up everything that, and social media has messed up everything that is a art and a science. On top of that, you had a breed when it comes to the American Bully. It was about the biggest head, the biggest body, the most bone. So when one person's focused on the most bone, another person's focused on the biggest head. What are we doing? We're creating inconsistencies. So I think when you look at it, there's two things used to keep a breed consistent. One is its overall breed type. That's what we see in the overall picture of the dog. Most of us, when we see a dog, it's that head and the face and the color that makes up that dog, the overall silhouette and structure of the dog that makes it up. That is what the breed type consists of. The same time, the other thing is the written standard. Now, the written standard is more for the show ring. Uh, Breed type, the dog can be anywhere from, if we're talking XLs, it could be anywhere from 20 to 25, 26 inches, 27. As long as it's got breed type, it's got breed type. When it comes to the standard is for the show ring people. It's a competition for them. So you're trying to see which breeders and handlers can hit that mark. And then you need a standard so that the judge has something to truly, base it off of. So therefore, you limit the XL to 20 to 23 inches, the standard from 17 to 20 inches, the pocket from 14 to 17 inches. And that way, it gives them a target to hit. Now, one of the bad things about a written standard is it limits genetic variety, which causes health issues within all breeds. You have vets now that are pushing for AKC, Westminster, all these major dog registries to open their standards up so that they have more genetic variety and within their breed classes. But at the same time, you've got for instance, people, let's say they decided they wanted to breed a Rottweiler to a Amstaff, and then they bred that to an oldie bulldog. Well, a lot of these breeders were hanging papers. So when you're looking at the dog, if you're not really thinking, then we're trying to create a breed that has its own look. So if they use a Rottweiler and a Pit Bull and an oldie, or Amstaff and an oldie, then we're supposed to create something that has its own look. It shouldn't look Rottweiler. It shouldn't look Amstaff. It shouldn't look oldie. Here's where the problem comes in with paper hanging, though. If I tell you I used a Rottweiler, a oldie, and an Amstaff to create what I've got sitting in front of you, you can look at it and you can say, okay, I don't see any of those features, so this is a breed coming into itself. This is a dog coming into its own look, its own temperament, its own ability. When I don't tell you what I used, guess what happens? You're not going to necessarily recognize that Rottweiler feature that you saw, that you're looking at, because you also are seeing the Amstaff and the oldie feature. You're not necessarily going to recognize the oldie features because you're seeing the Rottweiler and the Amstaff feature. So when I don't let you know I'm using various bulldogs and various mastiffs, and I'm crossing those with the Amstaff, but here's the dog, and I tell you this is how it's supposed to look, when you start breeding, it's harder to decipher when you're getting off track. So those of us who are experienced with dogs, we can look at it and say, okay, this dog has more Amstaff traits. This dog has more bulldog traits. This dog has more mastiff traits. But for the average person getting into breeding, if they don't truly know dogs, they're going to have a hard time recognizing those traits. and noticing that they need to get rid of those traits to bring the bully into its own look. That's another reason for inconsistencies. The other thing is we've got the internet. Some people just don't, they just don't care. So you'll have guys that have a good looking female, but they want more bone and they want more mass because that's what sells on the internet. So they'll breed to the sloppiest thing they can find to create, hopefully, a decent pup out of that. Because a lot of people in the bully game, what do? Which brings on more inconsistencies. We don't breed for litters in the bully game. Unfortunately, most people are breeding for that one pup. So they'll take two dogs. So they'll take two dogs that look totally different, both considered to be American bullies, and they'll breed them together. Old school people, we always knew you breed like to like. That was just how you did it. And so if I wanted a faster dog, then I bred dogs that were alike, but one was faster. If I wanted a more determined dog, then I bred dogs that were alike, but one was more determined. In the bully game, we're breeding dogs that are totally different. So we got people. One, we don't pay attention to temperament. We don't pay attention to ability. All we're focused on is look. So what happens is this guy can have a perfectly good-looking female, great temperament. She's a functional, capable dog. And then all of a sudden, because I want more head, I throw all that in the trash to breed to this other stud who's popular and sloppy, but he's got a big head and he's got bone. Even though he's bow-legged, weak pasterns, high rears, can barely breathe, we breed to it because we want that head and everything. And then we're hoping for one pup. Everybody needs to be focused on breeding for litters. And if you breed for litters, yeah, it's a gradual step, but you start to get more consistency. And that's something that we lack in the bully game. Another thing that causes inconsistencies, like I was always told when I was young, how did it go? Bloodlines create consistency consistently. We don't have bloodlines in the bully game. We have a lot of stud lines by popular studs, but we don't have true bloodlines where people have taken different dogs that are unrelated, brought them together, created a family of dogs, and then taken that family of dogs and line bred them and inbred them 5 to 10 generations so they have their own look, their own temperament, and their own ability within the breed type of the breed, so that they're recognizable. I know this is an American bully, but I also know this came from thrower bullies. That's when you know you have a bloodline. The other half of the bloodline is not only getting the look, temperament, and ability all in there, but it's about locking it in so that you can breed to other dogs and it still carries. That's why you have to outcross when you've done your final inbreeding. You outcross to an unrelated dog or a distantly related dog, and it's still your bloodline because that dog is just a vessel to expand the gene pool, but it still kicks the look of my bloodline, the temperament of my bloodline, the ability of my bloodline. But with us having stud lines, breeding to these males, everybody's chasing that popular male. And as we've discussed before, and we'll get into later on, we all know males don't make the breed. They don't make the species. It's the females. The female gives 50% of her genetics information to all the males and 50% of her genetic information to all the females. When we start basing our yards off of males, we lose consistency because he'll give 50% of his genetic information to the females, and he'll battle it out with the mom, with the dam for that. But then when it comes to the males, most of his genetic information is only there to make that male a male. So now you open the door for consistency because we're all chasing the most popular stud, the most known stud. So a lot of these things bring out inconsistencies. A lot of people had issues with the ABKC and the illustration they came out with. I personally thought it was a great thing for them to do. I don't necessarily agree with the XL factor of it, but at least it gave us a look to go by. It wasn't a specific dog. It was just an illustration, a black silhouette photo of the dog in different positions. And I thought it was a good thing to bring consistency. Unfortunately, That's where the next part of it comes in. We have social media. People are going to push what they push. People are going to push for what they want. To me, the only time you should be battling a breed type or you should, if you're battling a breed type, you shouldn't be into that breed. If you're into that breed and you have problems with the written standard, the only time you should have a problem with the written standard is when it comes to functionality. That's it. When you start saying, well, I don't like the look of the overall dog, the breed type of a dog, then that means you're not really into that breed. So if you're into the breed type of the Rottweiler, the American Bully, the German Shepherd, but you see things going the wrong direction due to its written standard or due to the show preference, that's when you have to speak up. You have to make your voice known, and you've got to go stick within your yard, still breeding for the breed type, but I'm not going to submit to what I know is not good for the dogs, the breed as a whole. And these are the places where we get the inconsistencies with the breed. Some dogs are more mastiff, some dogs are more bulldog, some dogs are more American, some dogs are more Amstaff. And when you start having this and people are taking their preferences, it's hard to get consistency. As far as the solution to inconsistency, I don't know. I mean, you get so many new breeders and so many preferences and people with their own ideas. I don't know how you fix that problem. Hold on real quick. Let me see. Not tonight. Waiting on Rob for us to do our thing. Bam, my bad, y'all. I don't know how you fix it. I mean, you look at anything that you ever loved that existed before the internet came along, whether it's your favorite music, your favorite clothing, whatever it may be, and you look at everything is exaggerated and way left or way right now. So I don't know how we fix that in the internet world. Unfortunately, it does look like things are just going to get worse and worse for unfortunately. But we'll see. You know what I mean? We'll see. And then the other thing is you also have people who make a big deal out of things. You guys, if you watch me on social media, you'll see where people say, "Oh, Daryl wants to breed big pit bulls." But when you look at our dogs, that's not what we're producing. When you'll get people that say, "Oh, so and so wants to breed just big English bulldogs with cropped ears, a short muzzle, and a tail," and all these arguments and all these disputes, they just cloud up. It's too much information. It's hard to focus. What I would say is between the UKC and the ABKC, look at their grand champions and aim for that breed type. If we all do that, regardless of whether it was a pocket, you could take an XL and breed it to the breed type of the pocket. I just would not breed it to the standard of the pocket. But if we all take those things, the pocket, the classics, the XLs, the standards, and we look at the grand champions of the UKC and the ABKC, we should all have a decent idea of what this breed should look like. We know the UKC expects a little more functional dog. They stated in their standard. The ABKC doesn't state it in their standard, and even when you look at the show push, there seems to be a little more bulldog traits to the ABKC dog. They like it to carry more weight and more mass. Somewhere in between those two is what we should all be looking at. But at the same time, when you see a UKC dog and you see an ABKC dog, they all have the same breed type, different standards, but the same breed type. And we know we're looking at American Bully. So I think if we all aim for that, we'll reach it. But it's how do you get us all on the same page? The other part of the question was why certain classes should be recognized as their own breed. One, I think the American Bully, in my opinion, sold itself short when it had all the classes were back to back. So you figure it started out with the standard, the classic, the extreme, the XL, and the pocket. You have 5 classes. The extreme, the standard, and the classic were the exact same height, but the standard was more extreme than the classic, and the extreme was more extreme than the standard. The extreme came with a lot of flaws, bowed legs, things like that. So they got rid of the extreme class. So then you were left with the Pocket, the Standard, Classic, and the XL. And they're back to back. There's no separation. Now, according to Dave Wilson, they do plan on putting a 1-inch separation between the classes. I don't know what good that does. If we still have to measure a dog to know its height, it should be a noticeable difference, 2, 3, 4 inches, you know. But the dogs should all have the same breed type. The reason why they do need to be treated as its own breed, and from Dave Wilson, I think he understands that, and I think they are waiting to do that. Um, there were different breeds used to create the Pocket than were used to create the Standard. There were different breeds and amount of breeds used to create a different look. There were different breeds used to create the XL than were used to create the Standard. And some of those breeds were used in more mounts than what was used in the Standard. So when it's all said and done, they are different breeds. They're still American bullies, but they're different breeds. The Classic and the Standard, possibly the same breed, because the only difference between them is the mass. Other than that, they're the same height, same general look. The only difference is the mass. So you could say that the Classic and the Standard are the same breed, but the XL, the Pocket, the Standard, and Classic, they should be treated as three separate breeds. I think it should be the Pocket, then the Classic as one breed, the Classic and the Standard as another breed, and then the XL as a third breed. And if we look at it that way, you can start breeding that way. And that's how the giant schnauzer is done. They're all schnauzers, but the giant schnauzer, the Standard, and the miniature, they're all schnauzers, but they're still all considered three different breeds, but they're still schnauzers because they were different breeds were used to create them. So it's the same thing with the American Bully. I think that is something that needs to be done. I think the reason they're holding off on it is because there is so much mixing of the dogs. In the live that Dave Wilson did, he stated that he's starting to notice that XL breeders are breeding now more to XLs rather than going to other classes. You do have some people who breed right on that line, that 20-inch mark that divides the XL and the Standard. So they'll cross, but then again, that opens the door for inconsistencies because now you got to litter. Some of the dogs are XLs, some of the dogs are Standards, and you don't know what you have until the dog hits about a year old. So again, it opens the door for more inconsistencies. But we'll see, where they get to and what direction they head. Unfortunately, this is a breed that the breeders follow the registry when it's supposed to be the other way around. The registry is supposed to be following the breed. So we'll see how it goes. Let me get into the comments before we go to the next topic. Casper said, time to exactly. Female most important to me. I agree. We're gonna get into that topic. Joseph Sterling, what's up from Private Stock Bullies? What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Betsy, what's up? Thanks for joining in. LOE Bullies, Rome, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in, bruh. He said, is that the topic? What's the topic today is lack of consistency throughout the breed, which we just touched on. And then also recognizing the breed as separate breeds with dividing each class into separate breeds, much like is done with the Schnauzer. The next topic we about to get into is the real reason why XLs need their own class, which we kind of touched up on that, but we'll go into that specifically. People amaze me. But anyway, then the next topic, Rome, is the inconsistency in leadership in this breed from registry to social media. And then the final topic is what's most important to your program, the female or male, and why. So that's what we're about to get into. There are people asking to join on the live. That's not what we do on the Dog Talk Tuesdays, but you are more than welcome to be in the comments. If you get on my nerves, I might bring you on the live just so we can end any BS. But other than that, we tried doing that before, but it was more along the lines of people being able to show their dogs. And it just took too long, and it caused us to not be able to answer all questions that were in the comments, which is the main part of this Tuesday night live. But those are the topics, Rome, so we're about to get into them. Let's see. And Rome, I think And you guys, LOE Bullies is my man Rome Barnes. He and I and Robert McCormick are gonna start doing a thing on Thursdays. It's gonna be a little more wild, but we're gonna be hitting different topics. So stay tuned for that. I don't think we've come up with a name for it as of yet, but definitely stay tuned for that. Rome of LOE Bullies also owns Champion Rude Boy, so he's been in this game a while and had his successes. James Galloway, what's up? Chris Walters, what's up? Thanks for joining in. Bossed up. Oh, Trevi, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Trevi is my co-partner when it comes to watching Power, the Ghost series. He has me cracking up with his posts. Who else we got in here? Rams Bait and Tackle, what's up? Thanks for joining in. Ace 900 said there's too many people with different looks for the breed. Once everybody start breeding to one look, one style of dogs, that's when you'll get consistency. I agree. In my history of breeding and dealing with dogs, I don't think I've ever seen this many people get involved in one breed so quickly. Even when you look at the Labradoodle, it was like they got the breed going and then the breed got popular, which is how it's supposed to happen. This breed, some of it is to be blamed on the registries. Some of it is to be blamed on the old school breeders. But, it is difficult because there's so many breeders involved in it now. Let's see. V, we miss your wisdom. And thank you. And I'm back. Like I said, I just had some things going on with us moving and getting things situated. American Bully Breed Club should be in the works soon. You know what? I think that is one thing. Daniel Nunez always spoke on that there needs to be a breed club. And right now, people can talk trash about the ABKC all they want. Like I've said, I don't agree with them when it comes to the XL, but and what they're pushing. And I think they're about to make changes that are more in line to what I do agree with when it comes to the XL. But when it comes to the ABKC, they are in a terrible situation. Their job is supposed to be to keep track of your paperwork, sanction shows, and then decide at these shows which dogs they feel best represent the breed. Instead, they're also part of the learning process. And that's not what a registry is supposed to be. It's going to flop on me. One of you guys broke it. It's not going over there at all? Okay. Is that? I know she's just pushy. Y'all forgive my bossy daughter. She just jumps in when she wants. But anyway, so the ABKC is in a sticky situation because they shouldn't have had to come up with an illustration. They've already put out their champions and their grand champions. We should be looking at that. And like I've said, if you got disagreements with it, cool, but you still need to maintain breed type. And, they're operating as a breed club and as a registry at the same time. Most registries, you don't know who to go after, who to blame. ABKC, anything goes wrong, anything anybody don't like, they point fingers at Dave Wilson. They're in a terrible situation, and it's tricky for them. It is very tricky for them to navigate it and get this breed on the same page. I think once they start laying down the law with things, I think that's when they'll force breeders into consistency and be able to point fingers at ourselves rather than the registries. Like I said, as breeders, we're supposed to be leading the registry. ABKC is in a sticky situation where they're not in that where they have to lead the breeders. And then at the same time, you've got other upcoming registries. And I'm not going to say their name because some of them I like, and I don't want people to look at them as like they're upcoming. But, they're not as big or as known as the ABKC. And when the truth is said and done, ABKC is kind of leading them also. So, they're in a sticky situation. The only one that's doing their own thing is the UKC. And the UKC is not going to make any adjustments, they've said, until the breed has its own national breed club. And people are trying to get that together. But from what I understand, the lady who's kind of in charge of that, I do want to get her on a live. So I'll be in the works with trying to get that going. But she's having a hard time getting people to commit to it. and follow the regulations that are required by the UKC to have a breed club. So what the UKC has done with the breed is they just have a general, 17 to 20 inches, but you got grand champions that we consider XLs. You got grand champions that are considered pockets, so they're just looking right now. The UKC is just looking at an overall breed type. They're not really getting specific with it. And they also want the dog to be a little more functional than what the ABKC seems to expect. But that's where we're at. So there definitely needs to be a breed club. It would definitely make things a lot easier for both UKC and ABKC, because then they could just sit back, register dogs, put on shows, and the breed club, along with its breeders, would decide the next move or the next preference for the dog. Somebody from Facebook said, I thought they got rid of the extreme because of the American Bully. It's supposed to be an extreme dog regardless. Exactly. One of the first people I heard say that was John Easterly. He said it made no sense to have an extreme class with all those deformities when the American Bully was already an extreme dog without deformities. So, and I agree with him 100%. I haven't seen him in a while, though, ever since COVID hit. Let's see. Eric said, can you post the link to the new Facebook group on this live? I look but can't find it. You know what? Let me see if I can do that. I don't know if this is going to work, but let's see. So it's Giant XL American Bully Breed Group 2.0, and I just posted the link, so it should be in the bottom of the comments right now. And like I said, we're getting the guide library back together, so bear with us on that. We will add a question feature at the end of each of them, so that way you kind of be tested on what you read. Let's see here. Rose said, did you see the email on Facebook from the lawyers to vet office? I saw that saying to stop us. You know what? I don't know if that's, here's what I think when it comes to that. It's basically, for those that don't know, it was a lawyer that advised a vet in Ohio to stop dealing with the American Bully because of the features and the necessity for C-sections and dogs that can't breathe, things like that. In my opinion, I think that was more aimed at the exotic. Unfortunately, exotics call their dogs bullies. American Bully people call their dogs bullies. And I think, and nobody who deals with dogs for years really wants to say exotic. That doesn't even sound like a dog term. Same thing with pocket and XL. No different. Nobody wants to say, I got a pocket bully, XL bully, or an exotic bully if you've been dealing with dogs for years. Even when I have to tell people that, and they're like, you got American Bullies? Yeah. What kind though? Giants? No, they're XLs. And they're, that's a clothing line. But anyway, we all call them bullies. And I personally think that it wasn't aimed at the American Bullies, the classic, the standard, the XL. I think that was more aimed at pockets and exotics. But unfortunately, here we are. It's an unfortunate situation. Hopefully it's isolated. We do know there are sections of the UK that will no longer breed brachycephalic dogs. They will no longer breed dogs they will no longer allow dogs that cannot breed naturally. They will no longer allow dogs that cannot give birth naturally. That may be something that's making its way to the US. I think that email or whatever that was an isolated incident, but I do think it should be a wake-up sign for all of us that we need to do better. These dogs that come out the kennel and they're panting already, can't breathe, can't do anything. I watched a live with what's the guy, Bashar, and I forget the other guy's name, but they had two dogs. The stack off. My wife had to remind me. The stack off with they have these dogs, Beanstalk and Cash, and I think Beanstalk is a pocket. Cash, I don't know if he's an exotic or a pocket, but these dogs could barely breathe. This live was seen by I don't know how many people. And everybody keeps trying to pretend there was nothing wrong with it. People that I respect in the community were looking at it and part of it and stacking the dogs off. Me personally, I'm true to dogs more than I am any breed. I'm not stacking no dog. I'm not taking pictures of no dog, nothing like that. And they can't breathe. And I'm hearing, well, I'm not going to participate. If I would have showed up to something like that, I would have left. To me, it was blasphemy. It was not what any dog should be. Not only that, one of the dogs could barely breathe, and why it could barely breathe, the owner's yanking on it, trying to stack it, grabbing it by the chain. It was terrible. But when we promote these types of things, they get seen all over and they make their way back. And now we have cell phones. Anybody could walk into their vet and say, have you noticed this with American bullies? And play these catastrophes that we have going on within our community. And I think we have to take a stand. Unfortunately, there's too many fans and not breeders. There's too many people that don't even like dogs, but they're breeding these dogs and they just want the money. The pyramid scheme still exists. It's definitely getting worse for a lot of people because now you got these big time breeders complaining about how the breed is oversaturated. But when I walk out into the street, most people don't even know this breed exists. So we need to quit just selling dogs to breeders. That's the problem. These dogs need to be seen by pet owners and people who just want pets. And but yeah, that was sad. And hopefully that was an isolated incident and does not make breeding American bullies more difficult. I can tell you right now, if there's a huge crackdown on American bullies, I'm not going to make my life difficult doing it. My plan is to get them to a level of consistency within our yard where the dogs can breed and reproduce naturally. If something happens before that, I'll switch off to band dogs and go to work because I'll be moving to the perfect location to do that and really focus on that. But right now, I'm sticking with American bullies. Hopefully, they don't make life difficult. Reproductive assistance, well, exactly. And they won't assist it. You can bring your dog in if it needs help with something, it's dying or whatever. You can get it shots, things like that, but they're no longer participate in the reproductive aspect. And let's admit it, when it comes to dogs, that's a good thing. The English Bulldog should have never existed. The Pug should have never existed. The new versions of the Wiener Dog, the Dachshund, should have never existed. The new versions of the Basset Hounds should have never existed. So it's a good thing for the species. We just all need to get it right before it catches up with us. Lab Mix Brother said, what breed of dog was introduced into the American Bully to produce Merle pups? The Alapaha and the Catahoula are what was used to produce Merle pups in the American Bully. That is why, especially when they first came out, a lot of them did not have breed type. They're extremely lean. The Alapaha is a Merle dog also that will give you more bone, but now you're risking underbites. So between those two, you also have Merles within the English Bulldog community. So when you're dealing with your smaller versions from your pocket to your standard, it could be the English Bulldog, the Oldie Bulldog, or the English Bulldog, the Alapaha, or the what was the other one I said? I lost my train of thought. But yeah, those are the three that were used to bring in the Merle to the American Bully. And you can not so much now, or the Catahoula, not so much now, but I would say about 3 years ago, you could tell right off the bat that it was an oldie, especially with the XLs. You could tell it was a Catahoula or an oldie. Now the Merles are starting to get a little more consistent and they're starting to have more breed type. A lot of them are really good. One of my favorite ones is Johnny Bravo. Another one of my favorite ones. We actually have a female off of Woodland. I like Woodland because you can barely tell he's Merle. Johnny Bravo, you can tell he's Merle, but his look is just dope. So now you're starting to get the consistency in there. But those are the three dogs that were used. Somebody from Facebook said people got to stop being greedy. You see some of these breedings, either a great male/female being bred to a freaking train wreck. That's the problem. And that's where the inconsistencies come from, because they show you that one pup that they like, but they don't show you the rest of the litter. You'll never see the rest of the litter. So that becomes the problem. But somebody's out there breeding with the rest of the litter and creating more inconsistent pups. So when it comes to breeding, you're supposed to breed like to like. In the American Bully community, I don't have a problem. I don't see anything wrong with not breeding like to like, because we're trying to get to this certain look. But then you need to be starting to get to that look and then breeding like to like from there, So I would say 2 breedings, and then you need to start breeding like to like. You can go for a little bigger head, a little more bone, but the overall type of the dog should be similar. Rose, Catahoula Bulldog. That's another one I forgot, which is the Catahoula crossed with Bulldog. That's another avenue for the Merle within our breed. Beth B said a breed club with other breeds is the only one. A breed club with other breeds is the only one that should be able to make changes to the standard. I agree, but ABKC is in a tricky situation because there's no breed club. UKC has a bunch of hundreds of other dogs to worry about, so they're leaving it up to our community to create, a breed club, a national breed club, and they're just having a hard time getting that done. There are going to be some things I can't speak on though coming down the line, so y'all stay tuned. There's going to be something big's about to hit the bully world. So just stay tuned for that. Just stay tuned for it. But as far as UKC and ABKC, they're in a tricky situation. UKC has removed themselves from it and placed it back on the breeders, which is how it's supposed to be done. ABKC, because they're part of the founders of the breed, Dave Wilson runs it. They're in that situation where they've got to, put out what they think should be the look of the breed. They've got to promote it, and they've got to get breeders on board. So they're forced to be a registry and a breed club at the same time. I don't know how to pronounce your name, Judah. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Said XL Standard Classic needs to be a class of its own. My personal opinion is I think they need to get rid of the classic class because there's no such thing as a class of a breed, two varieties within a breed that are the same height. If you want a leaner dog, then let's go for the leaner dog. If you want the more masked dog like the standard, then let's go for the masked dog like the standard. But I think when you have a classic class, all breeds have a classic style. The Rottweiler has a leaner version. The German Shepherd has a leaner version. It's typically the working version. All breeds have a leaner version. So I don't know why we took the leaner version and gave it a class. I'm not too sure why they did that. I don't understand why they did that. But I do feel that they all need to be treated as separate breeds. I don't know that we're in the position yet to say XL shouldn't breed to standards and standards shouldn't breed to pockets and pockets shouldn't breed to XLs. I don't know if there's enough genetic information out there for the breed to make that jump as of yet. I don't know how breeds and breed clubs make that differentiation of when to make that decision. So I think when these dogs start hitting the masses, that's probably when we need to make that move. But it just depends. These registries and hopefully one day breed clubs for the American bullies need to look at and see how many dogs do we have registered and the XL class. Is that enough for the XL to stand on its own? How many do we have registered in the standard class? Is that enough for it to stand on its own? Same thing with the pocket, because you don't want to limit the genetic information of the breed either, because if you lose gene variety, the breed just goes downhill fast, especially in a breed like this where everybody's pushing for extremes. Let's see. Like this video. What's up, Casper? Yes, definitely hit the like button, you guys. Hit that like button. Townsend Bully Kennel said, what's the most efficient way to contact you? I'm bad, but the best way is through Thor Bully's Instagram or through Thor Bully's Facebook page or through Daryl Thrower on Facebook. It's the one that's got Cardi Bull in the profile. Those are the three best ways to hit me. I'm usually hitting in those inboxes at least every other day. So you want to hit me up, that's probably the best three ways to hit me. So Facebook, Daryl Thrower page with Cardi Bull as the profile pic. Facebook, Thrower Bullies page, and Instagram, Thrower Bullies page are the best ways to hit me up. Bossed Up said, I believe that message was truly meant for the exotic, but from the outside looking in, a lot of people only see bullies, not American or exotic. I agree 100%. I think exotics do get lumped up with American bullies. And matter of fact, some exotic people, they still register their dogs as American bullies. So I agree 100%. Rose said they were stacking for best extreme American bully. So see, and that was just terrible. If you turned up your volume, what you were hearing was terrible. Eric said not only could the dog not breathe, but it was aggressive as hell. It was aggressive. And I'm gonna be honest. I was glad to see he has a little bit of funk to him. You know what I mean? Because you don't see that within the exotic community. But of course, that needs to be bred down. But I was more disappointed in the breathing of the dogs. And then every now and then, the one dog that was extremely breathing bad would not be around, and the breathing of the other dog was not as bad, but it was bad also. So unfortunately, we're in a community that is willing to consider that satisfactory or normal. The dogs looked like they were going to die. Yeah, I was waiting for them to die on the live. I'll be 100% honest. That's right. Beanstalk and Cash Money, that was their names. Cash Money was trying to bite people. Exactly. I'm not going to lie. That is what made me like Cash a little bit more, because you just don't see dogs that funky, especially within the exotic and pocket community. So, huh? No, I said funky. Yeah, my wife said I should have said spunky. But you don't see that within the exotic and pocket community. Matter of fact, those who are in the exotic community, I talked to Devontae a lot with the clean exotic movement. And when he and I were talking about it, he said that was his favorite thing, was that Cash was trying to bite everything moving. So, of course, for the breed standard and the breed type of the breed, that's got to be watered down a little bit. But it was good to see that the dog had a little more energy than, what we typically see. The other thing is, some dogs only get along with everybody and are friendly with everybody because they're dumb. Um, you don't find too many dumb dogs that are willing to bite you. So it's a matter of toning it down, but still maintaining that intelligence. Um, Rose said they both can breathe. Exactly. I agree. French Bulldog is another one. Yeah, French Bulldog, I think calls it Isabella, if I'm not mistaken, if you're talking about the Merle. Um, and I want to say Great Danes, which I hope nobody's using in the XL class. They call their Merle Harlequin or something like that. English Bulldog created the Bull Mastiff. I don't think so. I think the Bull Mastiff was just that mix of Bulldog, old Bulldog, and Mastiff. I could be wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, the Bull Mastiff is older than the English Bulldog. I have to look into that. And I never thought about that. So that's actually something to look into. Um, let's see here. Alapaha, yes. All right, so let's go ahead. So many ship Merles with clear Catahoula still being bred in Ontario. Wow, I see. I would think you've got enough specimens now to start, getting the overall breed type, but maybe not. Um, let's see. Let's go to the next topic. So the next topic was the real reason why XLs need their own class. We are kind of touching on that already. I think they need their own class because they are their own breed. Um, I think, and also by having your own class, it enables you to focus on the look of just that dog. You have standard breeders who are breeding for one pup. You have XL breeders who are breeding for one pup rather than litters, and you just open it up for more consistencies. On the same time, are there enough XLs out there where our gene pool doesn't need the standard and to create that variety in the genetics? I personally think there are. I don't know about the pocket, and I don't know about the classic, and I don't know about the standard. But from what I see overall, I would think we have enough XLs to separate the XL from the other classes and treat it as its own breed. Tony Moss brought up the topic. The real reason why XLs need their own class, which is okay, my bad. That's what we just hit. Tony Moss also brought up the inconsistency and leadership in this breed from registry to social media. And as you guys know who've been watching, I'm going to catch up with the comments. We will go, the live will not end until we get through all the comments. As far as that goes, I think this is a breed that, unlike most breeds, looks for leadership. Most breeds are established, or people don't get involved till the breed is almost established, so they know what direction to go. with this breed, there's so much hype. There's a guy I know that hypes up this one dog. I'd say probably every 12 months, he finds some new breeder to, what would you say, to jock. And he promotes the hell out of that breeder because he wants to breed to their dog. And then they either don't breed to him, so he moves on to the next person, or they do breed to him, so he continues hyping them up in their dog. But he promotes this train wreck as a good look for the American Bully. And this dog's got perfectly circle head. The bully's supposed to be a box head. This dog has a circle head, wrinkles all over the face. His eyes are bulging out. He's just a terrible specimen. But this guy's willing to promote this dog in groups because he bred to it. He's willing to promote it in groups as this is what the American Bully XL is supposed to look like. I would imagine he knows he's lying. But the crazy part is he's willing to get in public and state this. And that is just something that didn't exist until the internet. People didn't want to embarrass themselves. Now people will make an attempt at embarrassing themselves, and they don't mind it no more. And the other day he was kind of trolling me, and I forgot what I called him, but he put a laughing emoji to it. And it's like, you can't call me a name and I'm going to put in a laughing emoji to it. This is just a new world where there's no more shame. Nobody's embarrassed of anything. And, so I don't know how you find leadership. I think what people need to do is follow the dogs. That was one thing and my wife, she's in the kitchen right now. She can hear me. She knows that's like my thing. We follow the dogs. Us moving is us following the dogs. That's what we know we need to do to get this where we need it to be. If you're going to be a breeder, that's what you have to do is follow the dogs. You got a breed standard out there. Everybody needs to read it and understand it. Learn what it is you like about it, what it is you're not concerned with about it, and what it is that you disagree with. You need to come up with something, because if you're reading a breed standard and it's perfect to you, you shouldn't be breeding. There's got to be something wrong with it. There's no such thing as the perfect dog. So therefore, there's no such thing as the perfect standard. There has to be something wrong with it that you don't like. It was created by a man. So at the same time, your yard, what is it in your yard that needs to be fixed? What is it that you don't like? Follow the dogs. The dogs will let you know when the standard is a problem. The dogs will let you know. The breed type's never going to be a problem unless you're going so far as like English bulldogs and pugs and stuff like basset hounds and stuff like that are just wrecks. But for an overall dog like the American Bully, where we've taken mastiff, various bulldogs, along with the Amstaff, a little bit of pit bull, and we put it together, the breed type of the dog is fine. The only thing that can go wrong is the breeders, the standard, and dogs that win in the show ring. That's the only thing that can go wrong. So the best thing you can do is learn as much about dogs as possible. We all as breeders have to understand, the further we get away from the dingo, the further we get away from the German Shepherd, the Greyhound, the Labrador, the closer you are to going the wrong direction. So as a breeder, we need to know how do we balance it so that I can produce a dog that lives as long as the Labrador, the German Shepherd, and at the same time is functional, is healthy, but has the look of the American Bully in the way that I want it. And as breeders, that's what you have to. One thing that governs the breed more than any registry and any written standard is the species. The further you go from how the species is supposed to look overall, the species is going to punish you. You want a faster dog like a Greyhound? Cool, I'm going to make it able to break its legs easier. You want a dog like an English Bulldog? Cool, I'm going to give it a shorter lifespan, and you're going to think it's cute and all that. But guess what? You're not going to be able to give birth naturally. I'm going to make it expensive for you to do it. The breed is what governs dogs. And we as breeders need to understand dogs before we start breeding. We need to study dogs before we start breeding. And then we need to start breeding, and we need to respect the species. I don't care what breed it is. That is why the English Bulldog is now looking at going to the oldie to influence and get healthier versions of the dog. The Cane Corso was so badly inbred that they had to outsource to the boxer to get a healthier version of the dog. I forgot who the Dalmatian turned to get a healthier version of the dog. And that's what we have to understand, that when you start shrinking that muzzle, shrinking the legs, making the dog more compact, putting more weight on those joints, those bones, you're getting further away from what a dog is supposed to be. So you as a breeder have to be able to apply balance to it within your breedings. And you have to be able to look at a registry and look at a written standard and say, nope, I'm not going to do that. I might still show up to your show ring and enter my dog, but I'm not going to do that. That is why Prince Charmer is one of my favorite dogs. He not only is a good looking representation of the American Bully, minus the fact that he has longer legs, but he also is a good representation of a dog. He can stand next to a German Shepherd and he can still look good. A lot of our grand champions, and especially in the standard class, they don't look good. There's one dog I used to like in this breed, and then all of a sudden a picture of that dog came out standing next to a pit bull, and I no longer like that dog because it just kind of reminded me, like, that's not it. You're a good looking American Bully, but you're not a good looking dog. A bull mastiff, a Borabel, a pit bull should be able to stand near your American Bully. Your American Bully looks like a great American Bully, but also looks like a great looking dog. It should contribute to the species. And a lot of what we're doing with this breed does not contribute to the species whatsoever. So as far as leadership, I think you need to let the dogs lead you. A lot of the people in this community that are considered so-called OGs are full of shit. A lot of them don't know dogs. They've been breeding bullies for 20 years and they've got the same problems on their yard that new breeders have. They'll lie. I get a lot of them that lie on me. I've got people that have had grand champions and they have no problem twisting my words. In my opinion, I wouldn't even be worried about what Daryl says. You got a grand champion, but they've got no problem twisting what I've said, lying about what I've said, lying about what other people said. Some of them are trolls. I don't think this is a community where you can put a lot into an individual as a leader. I think you need to take, and that includes me, take what makes sense, go out, investigate it, look into it, and go from there. But there are good people in this community, and I think that we can see honesty, and I think we know honesty when we hear it and when we're watching it. What are all these pop-ups on my phone? But as far as like individuals to nominate to lead the community, I think there are some that can do it. I think there are some that are honest, but they don't really know dogs, so they don't know the problem within their own yard because they got a trophy. I think we have to be very selective in who we follow in this community and make sure that you are not part of that pyramid scheme that was started years ago that is slowly cracking. But as far as inconsistency in leadership, I think the registry, I think ABKC is trying to do what they can do, and I can't knock them for it. Like I said, I don't agree with the look that they're pushing for the XL. I think they'll find out that they don't agree with it either. And I think that is why Dave Wilson said when he was speaking on XLs that there will probably be some changes. But I can't knock them, Dave Wilson, the ABKC at all, because like I said, they're in a sticky situation. They shouldn't have to lead breeders. Breeders should be leading them. And when it comes to social media, it's just so much information. How do you decipher what's good, what's bad, especially if you're just getting into this and you're just learning? I don't know how I can, because I know who's lying and who's wrong and who's cool with being wrong and who's cool with lying, because I can tell it. But if you're not experienced dealing with dogs, I don't know how you would, if you got one person telling you the XL needs to have 2-inch legs and then they show a picture of it. And then I come in and I say, no, the XL needs more leg. But you don't notice that the XL that you're seeing a picture of has weak pasterns and he's standing in grass, and that's why he's getting the look that everybody's pushing. How do you know it if you don't know it? I know it because I see the gimmicks. But if you're not aware of it, how do you know it? Next thing you know, you bought a couple dogs, and now you're knee deep in the bully game, and you started off with the wrong dogs because you were sold something by somebody who was misleading you, or they weren't misleading you, they just didn't know any better themselves. It's kind of like in the 90s, the 5%ers used to say, when it comes to humans, 85% of the people are here to follow, 5% are here, and 10% are here to lead in the wrong direction, 5% are here to lead in the right direction. When it comes to this bully game, how do you find that 5% that's here to lead people in the right direction or help people with the things that they truly need help with without doing it for just clout and some type of notoriety? I would say just watch people, watch how they operate. It's like one dude said a long time ago, Muhammad Kareem, he's in the exotic community, and shout out to him. But he did a live where he was saying social media will either show your true character or take you out of character. And I think if you watch people over time, you'll start seeing people's true character. Every now and then they'll get taken out of character. Every now and then there's somebody I go off on, which is my normal character in real life, but not my character on social media. So I try to hold back on social media. So every now and then people are going to get taken out of character, but you should be able to get an overall picture of people by watching them and watching how they operate. And go from there. You know what I mean? But I would say let the dogs lead you. Let the dog understand the breed standard, understand the breed type. Take a look at the grand champions of UKC and ABKC and BRC. What's another one? There's a few others out there, but take a look at those champions and those grand champions. Get an overall breed type look, and then aim at that. Let your dogs in your yard lead you towards that direction. This is a community I wouldn't trust the people too much. And then we're going to get into the comments, and then we will get to the last topics. Rose said, I got Bull Mastiff in my band dogs. Exactly. I remember when you were on here and you showed them. Rose is breeding band dogs for both protection and hog catching. And he's got some great specimens that he's working with. And Zarata said, classics will never win the show ring against bulky dogs since fat dogs are their preference. I don't want to show my classic against dogs 50 pounds bigger. I can understand that. The funny thing is the last show I went to was a USBR show, and I don't even remember seeing the classics. Now, I've heard that XLs and classics are terrible when it comes to showing up to the confirmation shows. Hopefully that changes. And more dogs will start showing up from both of the classes. But I think it is difficult because if I wasn't into XLs and I was going to breed American bullies, I wouldn't breed the standard. I wouldn't breed the pocket. I would probably breed classics. And I think the American, but then the problem is the classic that you see today is kind of the standard you used to see yesterday. So it's like even the classic is slowly getting more extreme. Let's see. Rose said XLs have Mastiff in them, but people breed them to a standard. Exactly. And Zarata said they will diss classics by saying they lack breed type if they aren't massive. But that doesn't make sense because that's the purpose of the classic. So this is just a community that's extremely confused. 862, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Let's see. Asthmatic. Exactly. Cash Money got a little spark. Laugh out loud. He only got about 13 good seconds in. Yeah, he was out there struggling. He is definitely the dog. If I'm going to rob a house and there's going to be a mean dog there, I would hope it's Cash Money, because then I could just run around the car in the garage a couple of times. He's done, and then make my way into the house. Casper said, you said in some sections of the UK, I hate saying that word. Brachycephalic dogs breed are not able to breed. Does that also include the boxers? No, they're aiming that at bulldogs, exotics. It started because of exotics. And exotic people, I know you guys don't like me saying it, but 5 years ago, y'all was basically like the Satans of the dog world with some of the stuff that you guys were showing pictures of. The exotics have gotten a lot better. In my opinion, exotics are advancing faster than American bullies. That was why I've always supported Devontae with the clean exotic movement. But exotics cause that, and then Frenchies got hurt by it. English bulldogs got hurt by it, and they just brought too much light to something that was bad, trying to promote it as good when the average person sitting out can understand that it wasn't. But I don't believe the boxer is included in that because it does breed naturally and it does give birth naturally. So I don't believe the boxer is included in that. Let's see. Ace 900 said cash overall look was nice, but I couldn't get past the breathing. I couldn't get past the breathing, but I did feel he was the better looking dog. I'm not into the whole extreme head, extreme shoulder. That to me doesn't make sense. And all you're doing is hurting the dog because when it dies in 2 to 3 years, you're not going to tell us about it. Or you'll have enough fan following that you will, and then people will make little graphic posts of the dog with wings going to heaven. We don't sell that. Should not be celebrated and all that silly stuff that's done. The dog dies earlier than 6 years old, then there's a problem. Even 8 years old, there's a problem. And that shouldn't be celebrated. We shouldn't be remembering the dog and rest in peace. Nah, that's crazy. Um, Angel said, "Would you stud out your stud with a nice, correct female? Only thing is, she has a slight prolapse during her heat. What's your opinion?" I talked to vets about prolapse, where some have said it's genetics. Others have said it's not genetics, it's just kind of a mishap with that dog. I've talked to breeders who have said they've had one dog prolapse and never had it again, yet continue breeding. I've had other breeders, they just didn't breed the prolapse dog. I've had other, but kept breeding the litters and it never showed up. I've had other breeders that have been able to say they've been able to follow it and that it is something that is due to traits. I personally would not breed to a female that has a prolapse issue because I don't think as a community, a dog community, not a bully community, but as a dog community, we're all on the same page and in agreement when it comes to prolapses. So I personally would not allow my male to breed to a female that I know has prolapse. And if I had a female that had a prolapse during her heat cycle, I wouldn't breed her. And I think as breeders, we become attached to our dogs, but there's a part of breeding that has to be heartless. Not as heartless as it was in the old days where they were doing horror calls, but there is a part of you that has to be emotionless, and you have to be able to look at things and you have to be able to say, I have this in my program, so this is not going to get bred. Um, because it's the only, you got to remember you're putting dogs in the hands of other people. And if we're not hard on our own yards when it comes to ability, temperament, health, and look, we're not hard on our own dogs, then we're putting those dogs in the hands of people. We've created a community that sells from breeder to breeder to breeder to breeder. So it's kind of looked at as, well, that's on them. But a lot of these people are spending 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, $10,000 on dogs. And they're being misled. So I personally think, excuse me, as breeders, we need to be able to say, if I don't understand this or I don't know this, then I'm not going to breed this. I'm going to stick with what I know. I personally have never dealt with a prolapse issue. And when I talk to people about it, people are on different pages. So I think if we find out that the prolapse has nothing to do with genetics, and then genetics, not just that the genetics that makes a prolapse take place, but what is it that opens the door for a prolapse to take place? We know if you breed a short muzzle, you get less breeding. So there's no genetics for breeding. There's just genetics to the things that the traits that cause it. So is a prolapse due to a trait in the dog that we can see or that we can't see, or is a prolapse a genetic thing? So I think until we know that, I would say I personally would not breed to a dog that's having prolapse. And I think as breeders, we have to be willing to be hard on ourselves and say, okay, I spent this money on this dog, but unfortunately, that dog cannot be bred. But guess what? It's going to make a great pet for my home, or I'll sell it to another home as a pet, and then I'll start all over. I think we have to be willing to do that. James Galloway said facts, but unfortunately, that's where the my vision people are taking it. They don't understand that you can be constant while have unique features that can identify a dog coming from your yard. Exactly. And that's why, one of the reasons we're moving is I want to get our own bloodline going, and I want to get that going as fast as possible. If I'm the genius I think I am, I will be able to do that within 5 generations, and then we'll be moving back to Southern California. Um, if not, it's going to take me longer. And more than likely, it's going to take me longer. But everybody needs to understand that your vision should be within the breed type of the breed. Doesn't have to be within the standard. If you want a vision for the show ring, then your vision needs to be within the standard. And that is how bloodlines are created. If you want if you have your own vision for the breed, then that vision needs to be within the breed type of the breed. In order for you to have, where was she? Was outside? I forgot she was out there. What's up, girl? That vision that you have needs to encompass three things for a bloodline. The dog should have its own look, its own ability, its own temperament. So when people see your dog act a certain way, they know that's your blood. When people see that the look of your dog, they know that's your blood. When they see an ability of the dog, they know that's your blood. This breed isn't really focused as much on a purpose, so you can kind of eliminate ability a little bit from it. You have XLs, especially those who breed XLs, standards, classics. Ability should be a part of your breeding, even though it's not a part of the breed. Find something that your dog can do well and breed accordingly for dogs that can do it better and better and better as you're breeding for the breed type or the standard. But when it comes to a bloodline, definitely in the American bully community, you're going to need your own look and your own temperament. If you don't have both of those things, you don't have a bloodline. If all you've got is your own temperament, you don't have a bloodline. If all you got is your own look, you don't have a bloodline. You got to at least have those two things. The look and the temperament will create an ability. So you're going to end up with an ability no matter what. It's just whether you found what it is or not. But yeah, when people start saying my vision, I don't have a problem with that as long as it's within the breed type of the breed. For those who like a little more leg, cool with that. For those who like a more classic style XL, I'm cool with that. German Shepherds, Rottweilers, they all have a leaner version. I don't have a problem with that. It just needs to look like an American bully when I see it. And, but unfortunately, we're getting people right now that are going more bulldogish in their traits. We're also getting people that are going more am staff, what the bully community calls terrier in their traits. The boxer is brachycephalic. Yes, but not all of them, because there are some boxers that have a short muzzle, so they're not all brachycephalic dogs. Or I guess they all are, but some of them aren't affected by it because their muzzle isn't as short. Max said, "Hey Daryl, any ideas on how to better a dog an injured leg with inflammation/swelling?" You need to keep that dog down as much as possible. Keep him calm. If injured leg, one, I would find out what the injury is. If you don't think there's anything broken, then I would keep the dog down as much as possible. For inflammation, I would add turmeric along with black pepper to the dog's food. Turmeric helps with inflammation. Ginger, as my wife just said, helps with inflammation. Look for those food groups that help with inflammation and add that to the food. You want to add a pinch of black pepper because then it gets those enzymes going so that the dog can get what it needs from those ingredients that you add to the dog's food. Also, I would increase yogurt or even what's the fermented stuff, Steph? I want to say horseradish, not horseradish. Um, damn it. And it's actually better than yogurt. I don't know why my mind. Sauerkraut. Add sauerkraut to the food. Sauerkraut is better than yogurt, but dogs hate it more. So if you can get sauerkraut in there, the dog will will get a lot more probiotics from it, and have better digestion to intake the food for the inflammation. Other than that, there are pills for inflammation that you can get from your vet. I want to say there's even over-the-counter stuff you can get from like PetSmart, things like that. So definitely look into that because you want to get that information down. And you also want to keep that dog still as possible. Give it less food. So if you're feeding kibble, because you want to lighten up the dog so there's not as much pressure on it. If you're feeding kibble, give it less kibble and then introduce the things that I was also said introduce. Um, I would give it 2 to 3 days. After 2 to 3 days, if the dog is still limping, you're not seeing it get better, then I would take the dog to a vet because it can have a fracture. There are ways to wrap that leg, but there's no way for me to show you how to do that on video. If you do get into that aspect of it, make sure that the leg is wrapped and that you're using the rear and the hip of the dog to brace the wrapping. So you're going to need a lot. If you don't think it's broke, then I would try to wrap it to keep it as still as possible. And but if after 2 3 days the dog still has the same limp, there's a good chance there's a fracture or a break. You need to take it to the vet. Let's see. Rose said I got the Legacy of All Dog Breeds book. I can show you if you drop the link. All right, hit me up with that. Because hit me in my inbox with that because I want to see that. I always thought of the Bull Mastiff being older than the English Bulldog, that they had the same ancestors, but that the Bull Mastiff was older. James Galloway said Merles are about to breed themselves in a corner because they taking everything to a Merle, and at some point they're gonna get to a point where they're gonna be taking Merle to Merle. Excuse me. I agree. I think somebody's gonna try it. Um, that is why even with our Merle female, I love her. I love her mentality. The problem that I have with her is that the things that I love about her that have nothing to do with her look can never be bred to another Merle. We're not a Merle program. So our plan is to get a nice stud off of her. And then that's pretty much that. But as far as us constantly breeding Merle in our program, that we're not gonna, do that. So we do plan on taking advantage of the Merle market, but we're not going to make Merle a part of our breeding. And the biggest problem with Merle is that you can't breed Merle to Merle so far until somebody goes ahead and does that experiment. And so if I don't want to have one dog that's Merle and it's my favorite dog, my favorite male, and another dog that's Merle and she's my favorite female, and now I can't breed them together. You know what I mean? So that's the problem with Merle. Whether you're looking at structure, ability, what temperament, whatever it is you're looking at, I don't want to get two dogs that are perfect and they're both Merle and I can't breed them together. So that's the problem with Merle. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with it. I do think they're going to start breeding Merle to Merle though, especially when ABKC allows them in the show ring. Rose said I had the book since 2009. Ace 900, when Merles came, showed me a lot of people just want color or a style. Very true. Very true. What amazed me about Merle, I get it when it comes to Merle. I thought Merle would blow up to the regular public. Instead, it got popular with breeders. When we got our Merle female, we both love, my cousin and I both love Woodland, everything we saw from Woodland. So that he is what made us say, okay, let's go get a Merle and let's try this. So we got a Merle female off of him through Jason with Bay Boy Bullies. She is the sister to his boy, Johnny Bravo. What I was amazed of is most the Merles you see are just within breeders. And I thought it was something that would blow up the bullies to the masses. And instead it just blew up Merles within the breed. So yeah, we are in a breed where breeders like color. A62 said, is there any other breed with the kind of variation you find in the American bully? No. I think even exotics are getting more consistent, but that would be about the closest thing I could think of. I don't see any other breeds with as much variation as what we have. Eric said years ago wasn't the size standard for APBT, just basically the dog was proportionally correct. Years ago wasn't the size standard for APBT. This would have been back in the 80s, but no separate classes based on height or weight. Oh, okay. I get what you're saying now. Yeah. Like in the 80s, people were just doing whatever. In the 90s is when I noticed they're starting to become this look at these dogs people were calling XL pit bulls and double XL pit bulls. And they were just bigger heads, thicker bone. Um, Tended to be when you saw them at Venice Beach within two things up and down the boardwalk, they had to sit down. Whereas those of us with Rottweilers and pit bulls, we could keep on going all day. Um, so I think then, but you know what? They've all said, all these so-called OGs have said the dogs were supposed to be the pit bull on steroids. It's starting to kind of turn into the English bulldog on steroids with a little more height in the tail and clipped ears, but and a muzzle. But yeah, back then the dogs back then, especially, you started seeing a little more consistency in the '90s. Mid to late 90s. And that's where a lot of the popular dogs of the game came from. And yeah, they just were, it was, just a more massive pit bull, just like you said. And we're kind of getting away from that. Rose said American Staffordshire Terrier is the pit bull the United Kennel Club recognized then in 1898. And the American Kennel Club changed the name to in 1972. The American Staffordshire Terrier, yes, of the AKC is the UKC's version of the pit bull, which is why the ADBA, if you look at the ADBA pit bull, it's very different from the UKC pit bull. The ADBA even puts an asterisk. If the dog's registered or has anything that's lineage registered with UKC, they put an asterisk on that dog to let you know. Because the UKC pit bull and the AKC Amstaff have become the exact same dog. I don't know why UKC went that route with it, but for whatever reasons, they've become the exact same dog. And the AKC did not want the word pit in there, so I know they were tossing back and forth Yankee dog, American Staffordshire Bull Terrier, a bunch of different names, and they settled for the American Staffordshire Terrier. But they did not want the word pit in there. They wanted to be a more driven show dog. Hotep, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Eric Maxwell said, I remember back in the day, guys that were breeding would let us youngins work their dogs just to learn how things work if we showed interest. Now everything is top secret for some reason. Well, everything's top secret because nobody's working their dogs. You know what I mean? So it's like there are no secrets. The secrets is in what people are truly breeding and what they're not breeding, and what the rest of the litter look like besides just the dog you're showing to us. That's the secret that's there now. Let's see. Dark Arts 206 said, Daryl, is the BRC a legitimate, respected kennel club? Yes, the BRC is owned by Kev Green. I don't know his history with Dave Wilson or ABKC, but you are getting a lot of people who have issues that I don't truly understand with the ABKC and are leaving to go to BRC. Kev Green, from what I've seen, seems like an extremely cool dude who is trying to really make a lot of the right decisions within the breed. If I'm not mistaken, they were the first ones to take the XL and treat it as a separate breed. I don't think they've come up with the full standard for the XL, but yeah, Kevin Green, who runs BRC, I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's a good dude. He hasn't accepted my friend request yet, but I think he's a good dude. And I like what I see the BRC doing. I like what I see them doing. I know Danny Cervantes, who you guys see me go live with on Mondays. He's been doing some things with them. If I'm not mistaken, Heather with Grand Champion Prince Charmer has been doing some shows with them. So yeah, they're definitely legitimate. Are they as big as UKC? Of course not. Are they as big as ABKC? No. But they are getting there, and there are a lot of breeders that are going to them, and I like what I see them doing. I first gave a lot of respect to Kev Green when there was an issue a few years ago of people making fun of a kid that brought an exotic into the an exotic type dog into the youth show handlers or whatever they call it, where you're not supposed to be focused on the dog, you're supposed to be focused on the kid and how they handle the dog. And people just ran back the next day and started, making fun of the kid, making fun of the dog. Kev Green jumped on it, and if I'm not mistaken, he either suspended or fired the judge. There was a judge that was talking on it also. He either suspended or fired him. Let other people know, if you're talking about this kid and the dog, we will, remove all your paperwork from the registry. He didn't play no games, and I gave him a lot of respect for doing that. So I got nothing but respect for Kev Green and the BRC. We have not registered a dog with them as of yet, but we want to get to the point where we're registering with 3 kennels. We want to get to the point where we're registering with possibly 4 kennels. But Kev is somebody I respect, and he's definitely, if I was going to go to another kennel, I would probably go to BRC. I give them a lot of respect for what it is he's doing there. And, the future has yet to come, and we have yet to see how far they take it and how far he goes with it. TJ Tactical said, I saw a dog show today that almost made me throw up. I don't understand how some pockets are bred to an XL. They come out awful looking. Some of them do. We actually bred XL to a pocket. The pocket is the daughter of Grand Champion El Toro. We bred her to King and so far the pups are just about to turn a year old. Our keeper is right around standard height. For whatever reasons, he's leaner than we imagined he would be. So we're waiting to see what's going on with that. My cousin's constantly overfeeding him, and he just gobbles, but he's got a lot of energy like his mama. He's a little leaner than what we thought. But pasterns are strong, rear's level. He came out a good-looking pup. We just wanted to see him be a little shorter than for whatever reasons, that litter came out pretty much balanced. And he's kind of the best one of it. And we're just waiting to see if he all of a sudden gives us that look we thought we were going to get with more mass. But we did do the experiment with that. And, there we go. We did do an experiment with that breeding, and so far so good. But I think a lot of times people don't understand that you have to match traits. So you can't breed a pocket with a high rear to an XL with a high rear or an XL with a level rear. You have to match traits there's this myth that if you breed a tall dog to a short dog, then the rear ends up higher than the front. That's not how high rears happen. High rears happen because of a trait that causes the high rear, or multiple traits that cause the high rear. So you should be able to breed so even like we're dealing with bull lurchers, you're breeding pit bulls to game pits to greyhounds. They didn't cause high rears, and there's a huge height variance. So they didn't cause high rears because none of them had the traits for high rears. So those people, when you see those train wrecks, it's not because they bred an XL to a pocket. It's because they bred bad traits to bad traits. And that's how they got what you're saying almost made you throw up. The Dalmatian went to the pointer. Yes, that's exactly what it was. They started breeding them to more white pointers to get the look needed for the Dalmatian. Let's see. Bossed Up Bully Camp said they're classic grand champions who still take best in breed. Best in breed wins. Grand champion Bowser. Bowser's considered a classic. I didn't know that. Grand champion Diesel, for example. Nowhere near the mass of Grand Champion Blue or Grand Champion Zero, but still great representation. I agree. And now that I think about it, they would be classic when you think about Zero or Blue. So thanks for letting me know that. And that's Bossed Up Trevi. Good dude. He knows a lot about this breed, is very focused on bettering the breed. So if you guys get a chance, definitely check him out. Heart and Soul Bully said Zaraka. They're talking in Zarata. Hotep said, my research, a prolapse is environmental. That's what I've heard, is that it's an environmental issue. But I've had vets and breeders say that it is a genetic issue, or that it could. And I've also had some say that it's just a mishap in that one dog. And so I don't know. I wouldn't take my chances till I had firm answers. And we might as well make that a part of next week's topic and really look into what we can find when it comes to prolapses. Rose said, my dogs are scatterbred and crossbred 4 generations. I'm working on my 5th generation so I can start line breeding on my 6th generation. There you go. And for those who read that, that's exactly how you create a bloodline. Rose said, I'll be looking for an outcross on my 8th generation. I feel you. And you, because you started with scatterbred dogs, you'll be able to get away with the line breeding to that point. So well mapped out. Hotep said people already have bred Merle to Merle. They said it's about the length of the genetic tail. I have heard that, but I haven't seen anybody say, here's my puppies from my Merle breeding that I just did, Merle to Merle. That's the thing. But I have heard that a lot of it is based on the genetic, the genetic tail, the length of the tail. Kings, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Jay's in the house. What's up, brother? Thanks for being in here. Rose said the Camelot dogs were big red pits, and Juan Gotti and the Gray Line dogs were big blue pits. Yes, exactly. But the Gray Line dogs were not as large as the Gotti line, even though the Gray Line dogs, Gotti, started the Gotti line. The Gray Line dogs were larger than pits, but they weren't as big as what you saw Gotti line turn into. Let's see here. Rose said ADBA will register an 80-pound blue dog as a pit bull. They don't recognize American Staffordshire Terriers. Exactly. They don't recognize it. But they'll register it. Well, here will be my question to you. If you had a blue 80-pound dog, would they single register it because then at that point you have to show a picture of it. So that would be my question. Will they single register it as a pit bull? Because other than that, a registry is not supposed to be concerned with the look of the dog. They're supposed to just keep track of the paperwork. So I can understand if somebody, has paperwork saying it is what it is, the registry is not going to argue with them unless it's pointed out by other breeders or a breed club. So my question to that would be, if you took an 80-pound blue pit, could you single register it with ADBA? Because now at that point, you got to show pictures. Bossed Up said, yes, BRC is nice. They just have separated the XL, except exotic, and have a different point system when it comes to the show ring. Okay, so cool. See, and I don't really understand how the point system in the show ring works. Been kind of getting an idea on that, but because of some things that might be taking place down the line. But so I've been trying to get a better idea of that. So I might be hitting you up, Trevi, to get an idea on that. But yeah, so that's the other thing. BRC does accept exotics. They actually have a exotic standard. What? I am caught up to the last comment. That never happens this early. Also, you guys, this should be kicking me out in a second. Actually, should have done it by now, but it didn't for some reason. But anyway, it might be kicking me out in a second. Usually does it at an hour and 20 minutes. So if it kicks me out, I'll be right back on. I like Larry Broadenall, bullies, real workers. Yeah, I give a lot of props to Larry and what he's doing. He and I kind of lost contact. I did want to do an interview with him. I need to hit him back up because I think he'd be a great person to interview. He has, Trauma was his dog. And, but I like what he's doing with the bullies. I like his training techniques, that he uses. I think he's a great trainer. And I think he's a good breeder. I definitely like what I see him doing. So the last topic, what's most important to your program, the female or the male, and why? That depends. If you are building a breeding program, the most important thing is your female. Why? As we've discussed before, your female is where you get most of your genetic information. In the bully community, people like to say the female dominates, or the female is the dog. The puppies get 70% of of everything they get from the female. The female dominates the litter. A lot of them have not been able to explain why the female dominates the litter. I've explained it before, so we're going to go ahead and break that down. The reason I chose this as a topic is because it's something I constantly get hit with. Also, you guys know I do consultations, and when I do the consultations, that's one of the questions. So I figure, why pay for something if I can just give it to you for free right here on the live? So here's the deal. The female has 2 X chromosomes. X has 4 different lines. The male has an X chromosome and a Y chromosome. Y only has 3 lines, 1, boom, boom. So if you think of it that way, which is going to have more genetic information, the X or the Y? The X is. So you breed a male to a female, they have a litter. There's 5 females in there, there's 5 males. Those 5 females got an X chromosome from the female and an X chromosome from the male. So they battled it out 50-50. Let's do an even number. So let's say there's 12 pups in the litter. 6 males, 6 females, 6 males. So by statistics, 3 of the females should come out looking just like the mom. 3 of the females should come out looking just like the dad. Now, we get to the 6 male pups. They carry an X and a Y chromosome. They got an X from the mom and they got a Y from the dad. That X chromosome carries the same amount of genetic information from the mom for those males that it did for those females. That Y chromosome has less genetic information than the X does. At the same time, even though it has less genetic information, that smaller amount of information is even smaller because the majority of it is going towards making those males, making them boys. So when it comes to your litter, the female is going to dominate, battle it out with the male on the females, 50-50. So you got 6 females, 3 of them are going to be male, are going to look like the dad, 3 of them are going to look like the mom. When it comes to your males, they're battling. The female is not having as much of a battle with the male because most of his genetic information is being used to make the boys boys. So they're going to carry more of their mom's genetic information. This is why the female dominates the look, the temperament, and the ability of the litter. From the heart of the dogs, the trueness, the honesty of when I say trueness and honesty, what I mean is a dog that wants to please you, wants to please you, wants to receive a purpose from you and accomplish that purpose. That is, the female dominates that. So remember, a dog is made up of 3 things: look, ability, and temperament. Those are the 3 things that make up a dog. The female is going to dominate the litter in that fashion. Outside of genetics, the female then raises those pups. The pups are inside her. That energy that she has when they're inside of her, that she moves around with, that's all becomes the environment of those pups in her stomach. Then she gives birth to them. She's the one nursing them. She's the one licking them, cleaning them. The intensity in which she cleans them, the intensity in which she plays with them, the energy that she displays with those pups, all that creates an environment. So the female dominates the litter genetically and environmentally. The male typically gives his sperm, he battles it out with the female for the females, and then he gives up the male pups to the female. She's going to dominate most of the male pups. Here's where the trick comes. 1, genetics is at random. So how I broke it down into 3 look like the mom, 3 look like the dad, and then we got to the males. You had 6 male puppies, so we'll say 5. No, let's go 4 look like mom, and then 2 look like dad. So dad really only dominated 5 pups out of the litter, 3 females, 2 males. The rest, all the mom took over. But then you got the randomness of genetics. So looking at it that way helps us control a little bit of that randomness. The other thing, if a dog is line bred, let's say that male is line bred or inbred, or he's got other dogs in there multiple times within the first 5 generations. Or that male is an extreme male. He's got a huge head. Now, especially if he's line bred or inbred, now he increases. What's up, Cardi? Now he increases the chances of his traits being passed on to those pups. But there's a good chance those traits won't be passed on from those pups to their pups and to his grandchildren. So when you are looking at a male and you like that male, you want to get a pup off of him so you can recreate him. A lot of people in the bully community make the mistake of getting a male pup off of him. What you want to do is get a female pup off of him, breed her either back to him if they're both perfect in all 3 categories that make up a dog, or breed her to a male that is like him or a male that is loosely related to him. And then that way you'll get the look. Chances are you're not going to get the look of a male from his male offspring. The look of a male is typically going to be with the females, and then you got to recreate it with your next breeding. So when it comes to what's most important for your program, it's the female. Here's the flip side of that. Let's say, for instance, a great example would be Jason with Bay Boy Bullies. Jason and Chris Walters co-own Johnny Bravo. Beautiful Merle male. Well, they'll breed him. They'll keep pups off of him that they like, but he's not an intricate part of their program because he's male, but because he's Merle. But what he enables them to do is stud him out. They can stud him out to 100 dogs, make that money, take that money, invest that money back into their program, and they don't have to worry about dealing with litters. This is where a great male, a great stud comes into effect for you as a breeder. You can use him when you want. You can make money by studying him out, and then you can take that money, invest it back into your program. So they're both important. But as far as the dogs in front of you, removing money, removing investing in your program, the female is what's most important. You want a great structured female. If you got into this breed, chances are you got issues with your female. What you then want to do is take her to a male that corrects whatever flaws that you get. You then want to take the females off of that breeding, and then you want to breed them to that are correct, and then you want to take those females and now start all over where you were with your female. So let's say you bought a pup, and next thing you know, she's a year old. She's got Eastie Westie. Hopefully it's slight. You want to breed her to a male, but everything else about her is perfect. You want to find a male that everything about him is perfect, but he doesn't have Eastie Westie. You breed them together. You're going to get a few pups with Eastie Westie. You're going to get a few pups that's not. Guess what? Most of your males are probably going to be Eastie Westie because they're carrying your mom's genetics. You want to go to the females, and you want to find the female that is not the females that are not Eastie Westie, plus have what you think is the best of those females. You take that female that's not Eastie Westie. Now she grows up. She's a year and a half old. She's got everything that you ever wanted when you bought the first pup, and now you breed her to another dog, remembering that you know that Eastie Westie trait is in there. You want to get further and further from it. Once you get 5 generations from it, now that Eastie Westie is only 3% of your dog, and chances are it will not pop back up. You just want to continue staying away from it. You might even have turned it into dogs that will fix Eastie Westie. So that's another avenue that you kind of have to think about when it comes to, males versus females in your breedings. Anything that you need to fix, if it's something you need to fix on a male, you go to a great female, and guess what? You're going to get your best pups that fix what you need to fix are probably going to be males. If there's something you need to fix on your female, you breed her to a male that should fix it, and then what you need is going to probably come from your females. And then that's the way that you kind of got to look at the whole thing. So the female dominates the litter. She is most important. At the same time, males provide you a lot of freedom. I would say start your yard with good females. Pick a good male to get in there. Make you a stud, create that stud, keep him in that best one in your yard. You can use him to stud out and reinvest in your program. You can also use him to keep keep working within your program. And that's it. So let's get to the comments, and then we can finish up. That is weird. It didn't kick me out today. It normally would have kicked me out by now. Rose said, I appreciate you. Real talk. Helped me out a lot. No problem, dude. Thanks for tuning in, dude. And I'm glad when you jump on here because you have a lot to offer to these lives also. So thanks for jumping in the comment section. Kings of Bullies Excellence. What's going on with Facebook group, fam? The Facebook group got shut down. So I think we know who was reporting it with multiple pages. I'm hoping Facebook, I put it up for review. I'm hoping they get back to us. But we did go ahead, and I'll repost it in the comments. We did go ahead and start a new group. And let me put that in there. New group. So we started a new group, Giant XL American Bully Breed Group 2.0. I am now trying to rebuild the guide section. And like a lot of people wanted the guide section to come with a question and answer part to it. So we're going to go ahead and add that to it. But yeah, they shut us down, Kings. They shut us down. 75,000 people gone. We are now in the process of rebuilding. So for those of you, join the group, Giant XL American Bully Breed Group 2.0. Share it, get your friends in there, and we'll get back like we were never gone. Ari said, folks have to remember females swell up differently. I had a female that swelled up like a football. A lady on me saying she had a prolapse after I just came from the vet for a surgical on a pic I posted. Yeah, some female, usually you're going to recognize the prolapse because it starts to look bloody because it's the inside coming out. So you'll usually recognize that. She'll be licking it a lot. So yeah, if you just see the dog is major swole, nah, that's not a prolapse. When it starts to look like the inside of the dog is coming out, that's when you know you've got a prolapse. TBF Kennels say, hey, Daryl, what shipping company did you use to ship your dog from the UK? That was a while ago. Hold on. I actually might have that right here. Inbox me if it's not sitting right here. What is all this stuff? You know what? It's not sitting right here. Oh, that's my old diet for the dogs. Yeah, I don't. What is all this stuff? You know what? I don't remember. Inbox me through either Instagram, Thor Bullies Facebook, Thor Bullies Instagram, Thor Bullies Facebook, or Daryl Thor with Cardi Bull on the profile, and I'll get that information from you. It's right here within my reach somewhere. So inbox me, and I'll definitely give you that information. They were extremely good too. It's crazy because you see your dog show up off the plane, and they're surrounded by car parts and all kinds of stuff like that. But they were pretty good. I didn't have any issues. Picked her up at LAX, and it was all good. But definitely hit me up, and I'll let you know that. King said, I second that. Rose. B62 said, my foundation female first litter plan for late 2022. There you go. Good luck with it. And, okay, that's her in the picture. She looks nice. I like her. I got to relook at her. I can barely see it, but I got to relook at her. Nice. Castro, do you consider the true OFRN a separate breed from the APBT? I know there's a separate registry for OFRN dogs. That's my NORAD line, Old Family Red. For those who don't know, OFRN is Old Family Red Nose. And Old Family Red Nose has its own line. My favorite is NORAD. My Floyd is actually 3/4 Old Family Red Nose NORAD line, 1/4 boxer. I dealt a lot with Old Family Red Nose dogs when I was young, and there is a different look. There is a different temperament. I would say it is. That's a damn good question. I would say it has to be its own breed. Whether we call it its own breed or not, It has to be because they have their own look, their own color, they have their own temperament. Um, yeah, I would say it is. You know, granted, a lot of American Pit Bull Terriers were crossed with the old family red nose and then bred back into whatever lines they were away from it just to get the traits from them. But it has to be because here's the thing you can line breed and inbreed old family red nose for, I mean, tight, tight, tight. And they have no structural issues. The temperament doesn't go dull on you. The gameness doesn't go dull on you. And you can't do that with most American Pit Bull Terriers. So there is something about that blood that one gives them their color, two gives them their temperament, three gives them their ability, but also allows them to be tightly bred without causing any structural issues or dulling, bringing down the light and that temperament. So I would say that's a dope question. I'm about to hit some of my homies up and have a nice argument about that. But yeah, I would say it has to be, though we don't call it its own breed, we call it a pit bull. I would say the true old family red nose would have to be considered its own breed. That I've never even thought of that for some reason. Rose said we got to do one in the daytime so I can so you can my boy drive. See my boy's drive. He can wall climb and he's 22 inches tall with a 23-inch head. I give or take, he's about 95 to 110 pounds. Yeah, I want to see him, dude. I'm going to start. I want to just figure out how to go about it where I'm bringing people back on. We might do a first Tuesday of the month type thing where there's no real topics. We just bring people on. So we'll figure that out and definitely add that to the live because I like last time when you were on here and we got to really look at your dogs. Let's see, Rose said my dogs took some traits. I'm also thinking about adding a wall once we move to get. I know I want to do an A-frame. I know I want to do a sand pit. I want to but I'm thinking about adding a wall to the workout area for my dog. So yeah, we definitely need to chop it up. Let's see, my dogs took more traits from the females behind them, and that's what I'm chasing. What is she doing? Getting in trash? Oh, she's trying to get the peels. Hey, Sadie, come from over there. Out the kitchen. Okay. From the females behind him, and that's what I'm chasing. There you go. Derek said you can still register OFR in ADBA also. Okay. So they do register them. Well, I figured they would have to register them. Wait a minute. But they register them as pit bulls, I'm assuming. But they really should be treated as their own breed. 862 said my ears are tuned or turned on for this one. WKRK9, what's up? Oh, catching the tail end, no problem. Thanks for joining in. Okay, so there's the link for the group, but does it let you click the link? Just remember, Giant XL American Bully Breed Group 2.0. And they deleted the other one so far. So as soon as you type in Giant American Bully, it should come up. But B said, could you go over the black hole theory again, please, if you have time? So let's say you take what we were discussing with the X and the Y chromosome. Where the black hole theory comes in is from the racehorses with the dog Secretariat. They kept taking studs. One of the things that they realized with Secretariat, I want to say, had a larger lung capacity than most horses. So this was a genetic issue. So they try to recreate that with Secretariat, but could never get it because they kept breeding Secretariat to the best female. They would take the male, and the male would not be able to perform nearly as well as Secretariat. Finally, somebody figured out, started thinking about the X chromosomes and the Y chromosomes, and they realized, no, we need to take a little more time with it, breed Secretariat to that female, and then once we do that, take a female off of that, then breed her to a male that's comparable to Secretariat. And then they started being able to reproduce horses that were doing as close to as well as Secretariat, as well or better. So when it comes to the black hole theory, when the black hole that they were missing out on was the sons. Secretariat wasn't passing his genetics to the sons. He was passing his genetics to the females. And that's where the basics of the black hole theory is looked at. So what you should be able to do is take your pedigree, go back 4 generations, and if you look at the traits of the dogs, especially on the male's side, you can see where those traits are being lost going into your male pups. If you look at the traits for the male side, for those male pups, when it comes to the females that are being bred, you can go back and you should be able to find where those traits are being passed on. The basic thing to remember is that for a male pup, his dad's side is going to have a lot of black holes in it. So therefore, that means those are dogs in there that you may have wanted traits from, and you're not going to get it. Your best chance of getting it is just the randomness of genetics. For your female, she's not going to have as many black holes from her dad's side or from her mom's side. So the basic way to look at it is every time a male dog drops male offspring, those male offspring then create a black hole because those traits aren't making its way to the dog that's in front of you. And the best way, if you look at your pedigree, you want to look at it going from left to right. Don't look at your dog and work backwards. Start at that 4th generation and then apply the black hole theory going forward. And you'll see where traits were lost, especially on your male pups, and you'll see where traits maintain through the mom side of the male pup. When you look at your female pup, it changes because now that the mom and dad are battling it out 50-50. But the males on the female side are still losing their traits to males that came from them that went into your female. So I hope that makes sense. I'm about to go, because everything was deleted from the old group, I will be breaking that back down in writing in the group. And then that way you'll have a diagram. So remember, rejoin the group and we'll be going further into that. But that's all the black hole theory. The black hole is where there are traits that just went to waste. That dog was more of a vessel, but the traits weren't passed. And that is because of the way the X and Y chromosome work when it comes to male and female pups. Excuse me. So like if you just stick with what we discussed before, you'll create your own black hole theory pedigree. But if you just stick with that, you won't have to worry about black holes because you'll be able to say, okay, the traits I'm looking for need to come for my male pups need to come from my female. The traits that I'm looking for in my female pups is going to be battled out between the mom and the dad. If I'm looking for a dog that looks like dad or has dad's traits, then chances of me getting that is going to be in my female pups. I need to find that female that looks like him, because not only will she have it, she'll be able to pass it on. A male pup might come out looking like him, but more than likely won't pass it on. And so that's how you want to think of it. And then you'll create your own black hole pedigree. Casper said, how many inbreedings is too much? I hear people say 1 inbreeding should be enough. I think with bull-bred breeds, 1 inbreeding should be enough. And then you need an outcross, and then you can get back into line breeding, or you can do a distant line breeding. When it comes to inbreeding, this is an extreme breed that we're already dealing with. So the last thing you want to do, and you don't do it inbreeding because you like the dogs. You do it inbreeding because those dogs are close to perfect in structure and temperament. They need to be close to perfect, and as close to perfect as you can possibly get. Inbreeding is made to lock in traits that you already possess. So there should not be any flaws when you do an inbreeding. The inbreeding is done to lock in those traits so that you've done line breeding, you get the dogs because you can use line breeding to fix issues. You won't be able to use inbreeding to fix issues. Inbreeding is going to lock it in. So you want to have no issues. You breed 2 dogs. You have the 2 dogs are inbred. You have a consistent litter. And now you need to keep as many pups off of that as possible to use in your program, because they can go back to other dogs that are distant line breeding, or can outcross to other dogs. And you've locked it in. So when somebody gets a pup from you off of that inbreeding is gonna be more dominant in the breedings that they do. So when you do an inbreeding, the dogs need to be perfect. I would say with bull bred dogs, especially dogs that aren't bred for performance, you should only need one inbreeding and then find yourself an outcross or a distant line breeding to a dog that you know of that carries the traits that you want. And remember, once you do the inbreeding, the dog you go to is more of a vessel to give you fresh genetics and move on back into your line. So, more than likely that dog's not going to change the look or temperament of your breeding. Rosa, I just shared it on Facebook. Okay, cool. I'll check it out. My favorite OFRN is Norrod Red Danger. Red Danger is dope. I just like the Norrod line. I know a lot of other ones are more popular, but I like the Norrod line. That was always one of the best performers when I was young. Bank Statement Kennels, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Rose said I did a frame with my A-frame with my boy. I'll share it with you on Facebook. Yeah, send me that. I think the A-frame is a great tool to use when working and conditioning your dogs. There's another one of these people that troll. I keep forgetting to get them off of my YouTube. Eric Maxwell said, would you consider them a different breed or a well-maintained bloodline? I would say bloodline, especially present day. Here's the thing with it. We know the Old Family Red Nose was created by 5 families in Ireland. Those 5 families were creating red noses that some were taller, some were shorter, some were stockier. And then between the fight game, they started, crossing them with each other. Some were loyal to their family, some weren't, just loyal to who could win. And then at some point, I don't know if it was Leitner or who, but I don't remember exactly who it was, but the Old Family Red Nose made its way to America and was being crossed to other bull and terrier style dogs. So I think it can go both ways because the fight game, even though the dogs were of one color, the fight game created an overall look that we see in the, American Pit Bull Terrier. The Old Family Red Nose has that look, but there are differences. One of the major differences being the color of the dogs. So as a registry, if I owned a registry, I wouldn't get involved in it. I think the first registry that does is going to be dope, but I wouldn't necessarily get involved with Old Family Red Nose. I would just treat them like a regular American Pit Bull Terrier. But if a registry decided to separate it, I could definitely understand because the history is different. The question is, do we still have true Old Family Red Nose anymore? Because a lot of the Old Family Red Nose came here, got bred to other dogs, and then back into the Old Family Red Nose, just like other dogs were bred to Old Family Red Nose and then bred back into whatever their yard lines were. So that's a dope question. I just don't know. Based off how dogs are done, I would say it is, or at one point, what should have been considered its own breed. But I get why it wasn't, because it was used for the same purpose and then mixed in with the other dogs. So I get why it wasn't. CBBK said, when you breed a small female like a pocket to an XL male, will you need a C-section or will she be able to give natural birth? I would, if I bred a female pocket to an XL male. Now, we did a C-section when we did that breeding. And we have stuck with C-sections with bullies until we reach consistency in the yard when it comes to size. Because so many of these dogs are done by C-section. It's not like, dogs that can't give birth naturally tend to die and never get bred again. In this situation, we have a lot of dogs that are having C-sections, so we don't know. So at some point, I think we all, as responsible breeders, have to take that experiment where we go to do a regular natural birth and see, is my female able to pass these pups, and then continue it, breed based off of it. But I think until we get that consistency in your yard, down the line, I think we have to. I think the C-section is important until we get consistency in our yard and further away in by generations from the dogs that we're having C-sections, and then we need to change that in this breed and start doing get to natural births, natural breedings. I would say, yeah, but yes, if you have a female pocket, typically you don't need a C-section if the dog has a large litter because the pups come out small. I would not take that chance with a female pocket and an XL. There's a good chance she'll be able to give birth to those pups if it's a large litter. We're talking like 10 or more. When you start getting 8 on down, there's a good chance that those pups can still be too large for her. I wouldn't take a chance. If you got 4 or 5 pups, I definitely would not do it. So I would say base it off of how many pups are in the litter. You can also have your vet do an x-ray, look at the pups, look at the birth canal, and see how those pups measure up to the birth canal. And you can do that like 3 days before you're expecting the breeding to take place. And that would be advice also. But be prepared, be prepared to have that C-section done. Superior Bully said, great live, brother. Thanks for tuning in, man. Beth B said, yes, it did. Thank you very much. Casper talking to Eric. Beth said, much love, respect, appreciation, and support. Thank you very much, and thanks for tuning in. Willie Hogan, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Joseph, no problem, man. Thanks for tuning in. Casper said, what type of semen is best to use if it's internationally shipped, chilled, frozen, etc.? I would think frozen will probably be best. That I have not dealt with, so that I do not know, and I do not want to give you an answer. I would probably aim on getting frozen, and then make sure you got a vet that knows how to handle that. Yeah, because it's going through a lot, and once it gets on that plane, they don't care what's going on. So I would think frozen would keep it more protected. But I don't know for sure. I've never personally dealt with that. Let's see. True FRN, not most stuff you see today. Very true. I agree. James Galloway, he's had an enormous heart. Let's see. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. It is a tricky question. It's a very tricky question. Because my brain says, yeah, it's a separate breed. They just look similar. But at the same, as far as structure, and they have a similar job, but they were created differently. So I would say it is a different breed. But if I owned a registry, I don't know that I would get involved in all that. So it's a good question. All right, last question on here. Albert Porter said, good evening, sir. At what age should an American Bully male start lifting his leg to urinate? Is it a cause for concern if he doesn't? Usually you're going to see them lifting their leg, I would say on average, right around anywhere from 5 to 12 months. Pups will start lifting their legs, especially 6 to 12 months. I would say by 8 months, you should start seeing it. It's not a concern if they don't. Lifting the leg is a territorial instinct. My Floyd, who is 3/4 old family red nose, 1/4 boxer, did not start lifting his leg to pee until he was about 4 or 5 years old. Because he wasn't concerned with territory. Floyd wanted dogs to come into our yard so he could kill them. He wasn't concerned with urinating to mark territory. That was not in his mind until he was like 4 or 5 years old. He peed on all fours. At the same time, I had a Jack Russell who would mark territory and lift her leg to pee. So with your gamer dogs, especially if they're extremely not necessarily dog aggressive, but just not even because to Floyd, fighting is not aggression. It is just something like eating, breathing. That is just what he was about. So he was great for bobcats, coyotes, raccoons. He was great for that. But you know, your gamer dogs don't think about territory. So you will come across a lot of dogs that are extremely game and they don't lift their legs to pee. You'll also come across females that are extremely dominant, have a lot of testosterone, and they will lift their legs to pee. So I wouldn't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Your friends are going to make fun of you if he's a year old and still not lifting his leg, but it's not a health concern. As long as you know he's doing it because he's not thinking about it, and that it's not something where his hip or something is hurting him, so therefore he doesn't lift his leg or doesn't want to put too much pressure on one leg. I wouldn't be concerned. If he's doing everything else, naturally I wouldn't be concerned. It will come. You know, he'll start doing it. But when you get dogs that are extremely driven towards have extremely high fight drive, there are times where game dogs, males, do not lift their leg to pee because they are not to piss because they're not thinking about marking territory. They want things to come into that territory. So they're not trying to warn. Just like Floyd didn't, when he would be going after dogs, the hair on the back of his neck, that didn't start standing up till he was almost 10 years old before the hair on the back of his neck would start standing up. Other than that, he wasn't trying to make himself look larger. He wasn't trying to warn. He didn't bark at dogs that he was going out. All you would hear was him panting. He was just scratching at the ground and panting, getting at the fence, but he wouldn't be barking. He wouldn't start barking until he got frustrated with the fence. And then he would start licking the fence to soften it up and see if he could chew through the metal. So he just didn't operate in a way of warning dogs to stay out of his territory. So some dogs, it just depends. I wouldn't worry about it, though. It's not a health issue. As long as you know the dog is not lifting its leg, as long as you know the reason is not due to the dog has an injury or something that you're not aware of. Casper, man, thanks for joining in and thanks for participating. Eric said, would you say they ever had the numbers to say they are a true breed and could maintain it without genetic complications? Yes, and because Old Family Red Nose is one of the only lines that where you can breed, and it's almost all the lines, but with Old Family Red Nose, you can do heavy line breeding and inbreeding, and there's no issues structurally or temperament. Temperament doesn't get dull. There's no deformities show up. The dogs don't get thicker bone. When you get a true Old Family Red Nose, and you can't do that with other pit bulls, but you can do that with true Old Family Red Nose. That you can do a lot of inbreeding and an almost endless amount of line breeding before any deformities start to show up. So I think they definitely would have had the numbers. Beth B said, take him around other males that lift their leg. Monkey see, monkey do. That there you go. That's if you're embarrassed, Albert, get him around other males. Hopefully they're friendly. He's friendly. He can see them kind of doing their thing and see what they're doing and learn from it. That was a good idea, Beth. All right, so that's the end of the comments. We are out. I will be back next Tuesday, same time, same place. Thank you guys for joining in, and make sure to join. We out.